got you. You thought we were going into an extended break. You were wrong. We're going into game number 4. It's Fnatic Rising and Misfits going up against each other here, battling tooth and nail in Jamada. Fnatic Rising get 2 on the trot, but now Misfits Premier answer back, and it feels good to see this team bringing to the semifinals what we've seen all year from them.
Yeah, and I mean, let's not forget, right? Before this series, the expectations of the top 4, no one's talking about Fnatic Rising, right?
Yeah.
So seeing the series go as it is, it's a bit, you know, strange, but finally, like you say, seeing Misfits step up to the plate, not just roll over and get 3-0'd, and like you say, finally seeing the Misfits that we actually have been accustomed to throughout the year. And I think a lot of it definitely comes down to that third game draft adaptation, snapping up the Varus, making sure that they can actually give Woolite that level of agency. And I just think the response from Fnatic Rising and Bean was just the incorrect call for me. Locking in the Jhin, I think you have to give this guy something that can actually carry in the mid game onwards, because I don't really feel like Jhin necessarily even fit the scope of the team composition. It's not really facilitating anything in this particular game for me. So I want to see a swap up. If the Varus even makes it through, I think is the next question for me, because quite frankly, maybe the answer, I mean, Fnatic, they chose blue side, just for the record. So I think from the get-go, they're looking at either forcing a Varus ban or they're still just going to first pick it. And at that point, what is Misfits' answer? Because so far, the answers have been losing 2 games in a row to the Varus, and taking it away is winning. So I just remove it from the table straight up.
I like it. I agree with the Varus ban here. You know, Varus 100% win rate in this series so far. Fnatic are on the blue side. You just got to respect it. But that does mean that Twisted Fate is available. And with the LeBlanc ban, it means Lee Sin is available. We've got to go all the way back to talking about what we started with at the start of the day. MAXI and Shlatan, both of the big Lee Sin players. Feels like Misfits have to ban it away.
Yeah, and MAXI at main stage, not dropped a single Lee Sin game so far. Shlatan just trailing behind that, 3-1 in total, 75% win rate, and it's going to be removed away. They don't want to give it up, so I think that makes sense. Immediately now, turn towards the Viego, you turn towards, you know, maybe the Twisted Fate is the first pick, but I think it would be a bit of a curveball, and if you go for the Twisted Fate, you open yourself up to maybe, you know, that Rise Viego. It's a very strong combination. We'll see though, because I mean, they're so comfortable on the champion, and the amount of utility it can provide, right? The Everfrost, the Rapid Fire gold cards, it sets up the rest of Fnatic Rising to play around that CC, and we've seen how well they can do it off the back of game 1.
Yeah, so you know that Misfits coming in, we're probably anticipating this is the way that the draft is going to go. So now the question is, what is their response? As you said, the Viego available, that Rise that has been popping up could be an option as well, but instead they look towards the bottom lane. The Thresh has made it through for Jactroll. We saw the Jinx hover. The Aphelios has been banned, but Jinx certainly ticks all of those same boxes as an Aphelios.
Not only that, the swap was so late that I feel like they were conversing it very clearly. It's very hard to, you know, get a judgment on certain things when it comes to draft and hovers, but that was such a last minute swap that I think, there you go, the Jinx just gets locked in anyway. So Fnatic Rising looking at the full bot lane matchup, how exactly will they want to match it? Because plenty of options for Bean. He's played a variety of different champions. He can hyper carry match it with something like the Tristana if he wants to. He can go a little more scaling based towards maybe the Ezreal, keep range.
I'm just gonna throw it out here, Jamada.
Yeah.
Ziggs exists. Neither of these teams is willing to acknowledge it.
The
issue does exist.
The issue now is you've got Twisted Fate, you've got Nidalee. Ziggs is like just too difficult to use at this point. I think there's should be too much magic damage. Maybe they just look at Ezreal, I think, would be the thing that stands out in my mind. But I want to see something with more agency that can match the outright DPS, in my opinion, of the likes of a Jinx. And I think Tristana probably fits the bill the most. You could, of course, also look at the Xayah, but hover on the Leona, they're going to lock in for now, so they're confident in being champion pool.
The other option as well is when you've been playing super aggressive in this bottom side, you've got an aggressive jungler, an aggressive mid laner. Kalista could be an option here. You could just go full ham on that bottom side, try and defeat the scaling AD carry before it scales. Could be an option. Over to the side of Misfits, though. They've got their bot lane here. You'd expect surely the Viego has to come through.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to add to that conversation. I'll be surprised if they swap over to something different. Olaf hover, Olaf lock in. Okay, so more willing to take the Olaf into the Nidalee. I think because they tried the matchup, they just feel like MAXI understands the matchup more thoroughly. The issue is, this is a matchup where if you ask many Nidalee players which junglers they like to play in, Olaf is normally up there simply because in the early levels, Olaf likes to get low, and if you've got the lane priority to work with, it's very easy javelin tosses into takedowns because Olaf already is missing like half his HP bar. from the get-go. That's assuming, obviously, if MAXI can get into the jungle. So we'll have to see how Shlatan's solo lane matchups work out, whether he can have priority to protect him from that outcome, because Nidalee can outpace and can certainly execute Olaf at very surprising times.
And now we move to the bans, and you can see Renekton ban, not surprising. There's a Nidalee. We all know about Renekton Nidalee. Yeah. That's like one of the classic combos for the top jungle. But over to the side of Fnatic, we see the Sylas banned away. Wouldn't be surprised to see something like the Rise banned as well, because Dajor has that Twisted Fate. He has that global pressure. Trying to deny that global pressure from Misfits could be a way forward.
Yeah, I think it probably makes the most sense here to just remove the Rise at the same time, and then you start to limit Sertuss to champions that take a little more time to make it to the side lanes, don't just have freedom of movement, but instead they're going to look at the Orianna. They want to actually, I think this makes sense though. I think you tell your head, I think this actually makes sense. Even if you want to give over the Rise, yes, there's a lot of scaling there. Yes, you get the global presence, but Orianna that buffs up an Olaf, that also buffs up the likes of the Jinx. You have all of this zone control. There is poke there via the Nidalee right now, but the issue is, you know, more could also come through, or even just not. And if they don't, Fnatic Rising, dealing with the Orianna is very, very tricky. Olaf, though, gonna have the Galio backing him up, and it's gonna match the global of Twisted Fate.
It's kind of crazy to see that Sertuss like did so much work in that last game, and now he's playing essentially a support on this Galio, right? I wouldn't have been surprised to see something like a Lulu either, right? Play for Woolite, play for Shlatan as well. But now to the side, Fnatic Rising, we've got signature picks, right? Being on this Ezreal that we've seen plenty of times before, and Pride once again goes for this Gangplank that we've seen time and time again this tour.
Yeah, and I mean, that's dangerous. That Kennen hover is very dangerous, and like you say, the Gangplank for Pride, it was such a big part of why they were able to dismantle Movistar Riders so easily, because they were able to just stop dive after dive with Cannon Barrage, and of course the Destiny Gate as well. So if Misfits Premier want to make plays towards the bottom side, which with this team composition, no surprise if they do, Fnatic Rising, they have the apt tools to respond with the double globals. It's just about how quickly Misfits are going to be able to execute these dives and make it out, because the CC between Leona and, of course, that's just Fate going to be very nasty to set up the Nidalee and the Ezreal.
Yeah, and I feel like this is one of those games, Jamada, when you look at these two compositions on paper and you just think, you know, there will not be a single play unanswered across this game, right? Anytime Shlatan or MAXI tries to make a play on a lane, there's going to be TPs, there's going to be global ultimates, there's going to be all kinds of shenanigans to make sure that turns into an even fight at very least. So I anticipate much more action than what we saw in game number 3 in the early stages of the game. And my question to you, Jamada, is how much of the onus there is on Fnatic? Because to me, it feels like they're the ones that are going to have to put their best foot forward.
It's tough to say. It's tough to say, because I think both these team compositions, their item breakpoints are at relatively similar times. I feel like some of the utility that could come out of Fnatic Rising, when you talk about the gold card, the chain CC from like long distance, the non-committal engages, etc. These are very big bonuses for Fnatic Rising to work with that Misfits don't necessarily have in terms of that kind of privilege, where, you know, for Misfits, if you're going in, you have to commit. Simple as that. There's no like ifs or buts about it. Whereas Fnatic Rising, they can pick and choose their engages. Of course, if Misfits decide to go in, you know, they have to respond appropriately. I don't know if they have to put their foot forward though much. I think they can very comfortably sit back.
Okay, they can kind of chill out, they can relax, they can play this ranged composition that they've drafted. And when you think back to game number 1 of this series, it's not that different, right? A lot of poke, this Twisted Fate Nidalee combo, and then a top laner that can poke out, a bot laner that can poke out as well. It feels like Fnatic playing at range, they're certainly comfortable with this style of composition. But Jamada, we're going into game number 4 here. Game number 4, in fact, already underway. We're a minute in here as we see our junglers starting opposite sides. Once again, Shlatan going to be pathing down towards the bottom side, or at least starting on his chickens here. And it feels like there's a lot of tension in the air, right? For Misfits, for the LFL to make... Remember that K-Corp yesterday qualifying to the final. That's the first time any LFL team has made it to the EU Masters finals.
Back to back.
For Misfits to also make it... sorry, in summer. Specifically in summer EU Masters
you're
finals.
right. Yeah.
It's the K-Corp are the first LFL team to make it to summer finals. If Misfits could do it as well, if it could be a double LFL finals, they would be making history together. Fnatic Rising, they've been in the top 4 3 times before. They want to finally make it to the finals for the first time ever.
And not only that, they want to match, you know, the feats of which BTXL managed to reach. You know, they're their nemesis, really, domestically, BTXL.
Yeah.
Last time around, Fnatic Rising didn't even make it into the main stage. BTXL did this entire fantastic run. This time, BTXL don't even make it to the tournament to get the play-in stage. Now Fnatic Rising, one game away from matching that feat, knocking out Misfits Premier, much like BTXL did last time around, to meet Carmine Corp in the finals. It would be a very big statement for Fnatic Rising on their kind of bow out from the NLC as well, don't forget. To go the distance.
Certainly would be it would be something special, right, to make it all the way to the final, especially as that underdog. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's get into this game, though, Jamada, and kind of talk expectations, because you're saying that Fnatic, not the team that has the onus on them, right? They can kind of chill out. So does that mean, for the side of Misfits, that we need to see them playing for these Drakes and for these early Heralds? Because so far in this series, it has been Fnatic on the first Drake every single game.
Yeah, I think this is probably the game where we'll see that change. Misfits should have priority in the mid lane. Woolite and Jactroll, expect them to have control of the bottom side wave state quite consistently. And Olaf in general just loves these early dragons anyway. Didn't quite get his hands on them last time, but with slightly better lane setup for it this game, I expect Misfits to actually start the early dragon stack up. I think Fnatic Rising aren't going to have much of a say in whether or not they can pick up these early dragons, unless we start to see, you know, Dajor pull a very early Destiny Gate and it kind of catches somebody on Misfits off guard. I don't expect Fnatic Rising will be able to contest. I know.
Jungling on Olaf early. Yeah. It feels like playing with fire every single time. He did have his smite available, so he would have been fine, but I don't know. Just, it always feels so dicey to me. As MAXI is actually going to finish the clear first. We'll finish that Scuttle Crab first and maybe move up towards this top side.
Yeah, I mean, Pride's out of mana though, so I don't think we're going to see any crazy dive. Does have the biscuits, but the wave looks to be pushing back into him, and Pride's just going to continue to pressure. Agresivoo when and where he can. It can be very, very difficult into a Kennen. The range advantage of being able to pop the barrels and things like that. But for now, managing his lane quite well. Pride, a very, very long time Gangplank player, but only recently it feels like it's starting to pull it out again. And to good use.
Yeah, that's true. This tournament, it's been like, okay, guys, we're playing bot side, so hey, Pride, I hope you like playing Pirates, because you're going to be left alone on the top side. You're going to be playing weak side. And Gangplank, let's be honest, one of the best weak side champions in the entire game. You're so good at clearing the waves, but you can also influence the rest of the map. Speaking of, Woolite's in trouble. Jump forward from Bean, but Jactroll actually finds himself a nice little death sentence. Good damage coming down. Misfits are winning a 2v3 here, barely touched.
Yeah, I mean, Rhuckz not able to lock Woolite down for long enough. MAXI was still quite a ways out, so no real threat onto Woolite or Jactroll. Doesn't blow a single summoner spell off the back of that gank, so really well played to effectively just walk that one out. As mid laners both have picked up Nocturnes early, so it says to me, particularly Sertuss with that Predator rune, he wants to get about. He wants to move to the side lanes. As for Dajor, makes a little more sense reducing that CC against the Galio, of course, in the early stages, and just having movement speed on TF gets you to places that bit faster. Can be very, very pivotal when you need to get into range of Destiny Gates. Been suffering the 2v1.
Hang on.
No, nothing's going on, Munch. It's fine.
I don't know. I saw some on the way pings. There's TPs available. Okay, they back away. I was getting a little antsy there.
I've got to say,
I felt like that could have happened.
That would have been pretty smart. I don't think I would have seen any competitive play where somebody drops the lantern to let somebody teleport onto it. But if a team would do it, it would be Misfits Premier, I would say.
I would have been down. I would have been so down to see that kind of. I think the reason they backed away though is like, hang on, we don't actually know where Rhuckz is on the map, right? Like, let's not do anything too crazy right now. Playing it slow, and let's be honest, that's exactly what you would anticipate when you have this kind of scaling in the bottom lane, right? You've got a massive CS lead for Woolite already. It's kind of a risky dive to go for, as Dajor going to be torn in the mid lane. He's going to be fine. But yeah, it would have been a risky dive. You're already winning the bot. You don't necessarily need to just force the envelope for the sake of it.
Yeah, exactly. You got that CS advantage. You already warded off a gank attempt, I guess. It's still all right to call it an attempt. Misfits, very comfortable. Oh, MAXI's going to steal that away.
Just walks up and smites. It doesn't even go for an auto. It costs him his smite, his flash.
Look.
He's gone full blabber is what I'm trying to say, as I fail to blab.
I will tell you right now, as a jungler, it still hurts your ego. You lose the crab in front of, you know, your whole team. You're still upset. Destiny Gate.
Woolite's in trouble, but he just cleanses, and once again he survives. Double TP to answer. It's answered with a cannon barrage. I said it earlier, no play will go unanswered this game. So ultimately, it's 19 teleports and a cleanse, and that's all.
Exactly. So Pride now gonna get free time on this top tier 1. He's got, of course, the demolish, and of course trial by fire, the passive. True damage to the towers. He does burn through them pretty quickly. No cleanse on Woolite.
It's going to be Ignite burning away, but Bean can't really close the gap. Yeah. Too many minions in the way, so unfortunately no kill for Fnatic, but another good attempt, and it feels like Woolite has so much pressure on him in this game. Every single split second we see Fnatic make a play towards.
Yeah, I think Fnatic, they kind of understand the Jinx win condition can definitely be there. Another Q from the Ezreal also hits, and yeah, I mean, outside of the Jinx, right, you're only really worried about as the game progresses on these massive Kennen flanks. So shutting down one of these, you know, 2 win conditions as early on as possible, and trying to get Bean into a position where he's comfortable to dish out the damage, you know, towards, you know, closer to the 20-minute mark, definitely makes a whole bunch of sense. However, despite all of the pressure being thrown down to Woolite, he's still up a considerable amount of CS, 15 CS. Very happy to be in a position like that, considering how much he's been the focus.
And on the opposite side of the board as well, it feels like for Pride, feels good to see a CS lead, right? Because when we talk about laning phases, let's be real here, it's not been great for Pride so far this series. He has been bullied, to say the least. So feels good to see him just relaxing in this top lane. Obviously off the back of that teleport play down to the bottom lane from Agresivoo. That's where he's found that CS lead. Shlatan, though, in the meantime, he knows that MAXI's on the top side, so he's going to start off the string.
First Dragon should go over to Misfits Premier quite comfortably here. MAXI farming up on the top side. Quite efficiently doing the 2 camps at the same time. We'll see if he turns it into a Herald on the back end. He's got full prior on the top side, but no priority in the mid lane. But he gets the alert that the Dragon's been done, so we'll respond. It's going to be well behind tempo. And actually, vision is there for Misfits Premier if they want to try and respond. Shlatan walks off the blue buff, not hitting the crab, so he's going. He's walking up there. Mid lane priority for Misfits Premier. How quick is MAXI going to be at taking this Herald down? Because Sertuss is there.
Not quick enough. Not quick enough. Sertuss moves in with the Predator. MAXI will be caught here. If he can get the eye, maybe he can smite it, but the CC and the rocket comes through! He steals it! That was insane from Woolite. He gets the Herald. He gets the kill for his mid laner. That was beautiful.
Oh, it's a disaster. Absolute disaster for Fnatic Rising. But like you say, it's beautiful for Misfits Premier. He tries to execute with the takedown, with the eye pops, with the smite, and it leaves it on enough HP to be executed. Pride gets chunked out a little bit there. It all comes up Misfits Premier. They're so happy about this one. Shlatan moves off his blue buff to go and make that happen, but it's all about Sertuss, really, who interrupts the takedown. Whew.
I'm just saying, this topside River and MAXI are not getting on today. Oh, because we saw him have to flash away from getting that Scuttle Crab. No. Now we see him dying at Herald by himself. And I'm just saying, Nidalee, known to die in this river at international events. just throw that out there. It's just gets one last little punch in. That's some beautiful coordination from Misfits.
Yeah, it is at the end of the day. And now that's Herald in the hands of Misfits, where, I mean, I think you can guess where they're going to put that Herald. And the answer, if you can't get it, is Woolite, most likely. That tower is actually... I
thought that was going to be a pop quiz. I thought I was going to like get points if I guessed the right lane. I was ready to compete.
Multiple choice, perhaps, you know, a couple of A, B, C, D.
I mean, I feel like it's automatically multiple choice since there are only 3 lanes.
Of course,
like,
true.
It's kind of difficult to not pick one of the lanes. But speaking of that bottom lane, like Herald or no, this tower's going to go down. You could even save the Herald, honestly.
Yeah,
like, look at it.
I don't think you have to use Herald here. This is actually very much just Misfits leveraging the pressure of knowing that Fnatic have to kind of respect the play because of the Herald. So they just get the place for free.
So oh, Destiny comes through here up on the top side. Agresivoo, nice slicing Maelstrom to try and dissuade the play. And actually, Sertuss commits his own ultimate up to that top side after the flash from Agresivoo. So not ideal for them. But now to the bot side we go once more. There's a hook, flame chompers, but Rhuckz. Good flash to keep himself safe.
Yeah, definitely. Happy, I suppose Agresivoo doesn't die, but they'd still commit that Galio armor, and now that's not going to be available for a little while, and teleport's still a whiles away for Sertuss. So we'll see if there's anything Fnatic can do in that window, of the cannon barrage perhaps. Of course, Destiny Gate was pulled at the same time. Cooldown is actually quite significantly shorter than the Hero's entrance from Galio, but extended look at the bottom side because this Demolish proc should just about edge.
They're gonna get it.
Yeah.
And you know, we've been talking. Oh, the flash forwards. Jactroll goes in on towards Rhuckz. Now he is tanky with the aftershock, but I don't think he's tanky enough. One more auto. The ignite isn't there. It's already ticked off, and well, there is a rocket available for Woolite. I feel like it's gonna be a shot in the dark at very least.
Yeah.
He's gonna go for it though. Rocket. Can
okay.
it?
Okay, we're good.
No,
we're good. All right, no rocket connection there. But still, the damage is done. They've still got the Herald in their back pocket to use. Woolite, he's so far ahead already. He's got the Kraken Slayer in his back pocket, and Sertuss, I beg your pardon, Shlatan will still likely use the Herald in whichever lane he's in. Thank you, observers, for the gold highlight too. 1.3 thousand gold, the individual lead at the moment.
Yeah. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
Like, look at that AD carry difference
But
right
the
now.
top side.
5,000 to 3,900. The top side, though, is the total opposite end of the story, right? Pride almost finishing this tower solo is kind of insane. 4 plates for him to work with. Rhuckz is moving up as well. And it feels like this is a complete switcheroo in terms of the series. Sertuss gets a taunt onto Rhuckz, but he'll back away in the end. But yeah, it feels like all series long it's been Pride struggling at a numbers disadvantage and falling behind in the top side, and the opposite happening on the bottom lane. Whereas now, it's the old switcheroo. Fnatic, their lead is in the top side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. He's had Gangplank banned away from him for the entire series so far. And I think at this point, in a composition like this, is relatively short-ranged, and the comp wants to walk into you as Gangplank. You're loving this right now. Herald is going to drop in the mid lane for Woolite. He's going to pick up at least 3 plates here.
Oh, he's so huge.
Massive.
Woolite is monstrous. He's already got Kraken Slayer and Boots with 13 minutes in, and now he's getting more plates on top of it as well. This is a terrifying Jinx to have to go against in the mid game. But also, importantly, the plates are going to fall off in 10 seconds time. Woolite's not going to get any more plates for himself. But that tower, you know, it's going to fall over to a stiff bleeze. Like, 2 more auto attacks from Woolite, and that tower's gone.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty...
Maybe Dior's gone. Oh my goodness, kicked out of the mid lane. This is Woolite's lane now. You don't get to play anymore, Dior. Go home. Yep,
Dior go home. Fnatic Rising, they're going to have to leverage this Gangplank. The Gangplank's lead, Pride's lead. So I think that's going to be their avenue for the next couple of minutes. Or they can just sit back, wait for the items to come in, right? You still need the Muramana upgrade from Bean. Of course, the whole Sheen item too. Dior, once you get that Red Fire Cannon, the utility of the composition, right? It will start to scale up into what Misfits are running. And eventually you will have some kind of success where you've got all of this kite back from your composition and Misfits wants to run into you with all of these big AoE or ultimates or abilities.
Yeah.
It's not quite done. And Misfits, you know, we've seen them with similar leads at this time in the game 1 and game 2, where, you know, they couldn't really take it home. Game 3, the lead much larger. So Misfits, I don't think they're, you know, clean sailing just yet, just because Woolite is so far ahead.
I mean, like, the thing is, yeah, Woolite is massive. We have to bear that in mind, but at the same time, so is Pride. When you look at the actual gold right now, we're pretty much even across the board. This tower will certainly help Misfits a little bit in turning that gold lead into like 800 ahead, not quite 1,000 gold lead. So it does feel like Misfits are in control, but they still have a good amount of work to do if they want to turn this lead into something more significant. As Pride now in a 1v4, he's got to get out of there because Shlatan's behind the tower. Pride, you got to watch it, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, they're just sending Woolite tower to tower here. Pretty much across the map, and I mean, Jinx is one of the best champions in the game. I did say I want to see a Ziggs. Well, they're basically just playing Ziggs without Ziggs, right? This is exactly how you play a Ziggs comp. Yeah, exactly. And now Woolite should get that tower in the next couple of waves. Pride is doing his best to wave clear. Dior, however, is getting this tower for free, and it's quite a few minions that are going to die underneath the tower. Someone's going to have to come and respond to this eventually. Fnatic actually quite ahead of play, quite ahead of tempo on this play. I'm not sure they're going to go any further. They could potentially get that mid-tier 1, but I think there's enough numbers from Misfits Premier, so it's just going to be a 1-for-1 tower trade. Misfits still sit 1 tower up, though. That mid-tier 1 still needs to be taken down. So much gold is going on. Can we get another gold check, actually, observers, if you don't mind? I would be very curious to... It's actually not as large as I thought.
1,500 in the top side,
yeah,
and 1,500 in the bottom side. The advantages for Woolite and Pride are literally mirrored on opposite sides of the map. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, it could be a lot worse for Fnatic. I think considering how, you know, Misfits have been playing,
they're only 1,000 gone down. It could be a lot worse.
It could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse, just considering, you know, they've kind of sat on their hands a little bit. Fnatic haven't really been looking for too much, and we said, you know, that's fine. Misfits, they've not bitten off too much. They've not looked for many aggressive plays, and they've always been answered. So this neutrality in the game, I think, is only really going to benefit Fnatic. As you know, time goes on, we spoke about how these comps want to interact. Misfits wants to move forward with their champions. Fnatic Rising, on the most part, wants to move backwards. You've got all the CC. You've got, of course, all of the mobility in some cases. It will be tough for Misfits if they don't start to grow a lead. These teamfight tools from Fnatic Rising are going to be very, very tricky to play around with the short range of most of your comp.
I'm excited for the late game because I feel like we've stepped into a time machine and gone back to like season 3, season 4, where every game was like 50 minutes. Nobody would do anything for the first 20 minutes. They just farm it up every lane, swap around the map, and like take towers and on things like the Jinx, for example.
It was a horror.
It's kind of what we're seeing here. You know, the early games were a little tedious. I'll admit, but the thing is, the beautiful thing about that time in League of Legends was we got insane team fighting. And when you look at these two compositions as well, we have two really strong compositions when it comes to, you know, obviously for Fnatic, they don't really want the straight up 5v5, but they've got to play the map creatively and find picks. Whereas Misfits, this insane protect the AD carry style composition with a big old wombo combo, it feels like very classic League of Legends to me.
Yeah, it definitely is. Fnatic Rising, though, they're going to cross map. Whilst Misfits actually have the Herald, we'll see how much wave clear Pride and Beacon can provide.
This is weird assignments as well, right? AD carry and top laner. It's not something you see often, but hey, they've cleared the Herald. They've traded evenly against the Herald. Honestly, that's kind of a win for Fnatic.
I totally agree. I think considering Misfits have the Herald there, not being able to, you know, maybe dive Ezreal and GP just because of, you know, barrels, cannon barrage, arcane shift, it means that you can't push it that step further and you can't actually uptrade on Fnatic Rising. So honestly, whilst it's a neutral trade in, you know, flat value in terms of the scope of the game, another small win for Fnatic where they're not really falling behind anymore. And look at the gold lead at the top of the screen. It no longer exists. We're almost at complete parity here. And that's, you know, when you start to have to factor in all of these item spikes, right? You've got, of course, Woolite, we've highlighted loads of times. He's at that 2 item mark already, been not quite there. Dajor, however, has his own rapid fire cannon. He's got that additional range. MAXI's on the Pro Rebel. Shlatan's got the Gore Drinker approaching the Sterax. The items are here, and they're at almost parity right now.
Oh, hang on, Dajor just about misses the Everfrost TP coming on in. Gold card to buy space here. Important to note, this is an Ocean Soul this time. No more of that Cloud Drake nonsense. This is going to be a soul worth fighting for. And with Misfits having the first 2 Drakes of this game, as you alluded to earlier on, it feels like Fnatic now have to make something happen. Sertuss getting priority in the mid lane and moving back over as being desperate to try and get some poke out. The Drake resets once more. Jamada, this has felt incredibly tense all game long, and it could come down to this. Over the wall goes Agresivoo, but won't find a way. Interesting. Jactroll 1 HP already. The Dragon getting close to that one. Dragon taking it down. Now in goes Agresivoo, and it's beautifully done by Misfits. The wombo combo we talked about is the LFL find themselves the lead.
It's starting to look like hot flashback horror for Fnatic Rising, where they got reverse swept in the NLC finals right now. Misfits, and look at the timer. Baron's up and available off the back of this fight. They get the Dragon, they get the kills. MAXI's dead, Pride's dead, even if he was alive, no cannon barrage. This is probably a free Baron now for Misfits. They're going to snowball this probably further than they believed they were going to in that team fight. And I mean, Fnatic Rising,
I don't believe those numbers.
I don't believe those numbers either. I think there's a bit of an error there.
Agresivoo did 0 damage in that fire. I don't believe it. I don't believe it either. This is fake news. Take away your propaganda. It's going to be a Baron though, and that's what's important here for Misfits Premier. Imagine going 2-0 down and having the mental fortitude to have this kind of performance now all the way to game 4. And now with the lead off of this fight.
Yeah, and that's why we highlight the veterancy of the Misfits Premier roster, because they can survive situations like this. Fnatic Rising, they've got, you know, obviously Dajor, who's the rookie. They've got other members, but they're just not as experienced. And right now, maybe starting to show a little bit as we go further and further into this series. Misfits Premier just get the upper hand in this team fight. Pride blown up, and quite frankly, as soon as Pride's gone, there's no more consistent barrels to follow through. And of course, the ultimate as well from Kennen just breaks apart the fight from Fnatic Rising. They can't play this kite back style because they just get immediately just routed.
Yeah, and the follow-up from the rest of the squad is so strong as well, right? When you've got Sertuss slamming in wherever Agresivoo is, and the stuns coming out from the Kennen that then get followed up by the knockup. Feels like Fnatic, if they miss position, Misfits can punish them extremely hard. And now, crucially, this smite came out from Shlatan, right? Soul point with an Ocean Soul, no less, in favor of Misfits in 3 minutes. That's going to come back to bite Fnatic.
Yep, exactly. And I think if that soul comes through, life starts to get really difficult. Usually, you would kind of almost turn your nose up at an Ocean Soul at this point in the sort of Dragon cycles, just because it's just not as strong as a Mountain or Infernal. But you've got 3, you know, tank bruiser-esque champions in the Galio, Olaf, and the Thresh. That's going to actually provide a whole bunch of value, and it means Fnatic Rising are going to have to start buying anti-heal things of that nature too. It all starts to add up in that gold deficit.
On top of that as well, like, you're against a poke composition ultimately. You're against a Gangplank and Nidalee and Ezreal. Like, having Ocean Drakes, that feels pretty good to me.
Exactly. So if they lose that Ocean Soul, Fnatic Rising, they're already in a hole, right? And just in terms of pressure, in terms of the state of the game right now of this Baron, in all fairness, holding off the Baron buff quite well, but they lose that soul, that's a permanent buff. That's something that you've got to deal with until this game is over. You just can't really risk giving it up.
Yeah. And I think I want to highlight something about Misfits here. Is this siege is going to continue for the next hour or two. As I say that, Shlatan actually is just going to go for a dive instead. Picks up his axe, throws it forward. The rocket goes through. These combos are gorgeous as Woolite is shredding Fnatic before our very eyes. Sertuss underneath the tower. Pride hits here, but will walk away with his life. Pride gets some barrels in. Health bars are low for Misfits, but Woolite is still going strong. He's the only one that matters. And Agresivoo hasn't even used the Slicing Maelstrom yet. Misfits have blown this game open. We talk about them as this fast, aggressive squad, but when it comes to the macro game, that's where they truly shine.
Especially when they've got these gold leads, and this is exactly what they've managed to find for themselves. I mean, granted, they found it off the back of a neutral game, to be honest with you, but quite frankly, now that they've actually got the lead, at a time like this is where Misfits are most comfortable. This is where Misfits start to thrive, and we're seeing it, you know, fight by fight, skirmish by skirmish. Woolite just gets to open fire on the carries of Fnatic Rising, and the inhibitor's gone now. All of a sudden, Misfits only really have to worry about 2 lanes, but I mean, with the Dragon spawning in just under a minute, they're pretty comfortable having that bottom lane inhib open, because if they win a fight on that side of the map, they could damn well end the game. And replays on our screens, it's just a bunch of poke damage that initially just comes down. Shlatan then also on the just ghosts in. He just ghosts in, walks in, finds the first undertow, finds a second, and then rocket executes. Simple as that. Flash forward as well. Simple as from the Misfits carry. And now, Ocean 30 seconds.
Yeah, Misfits in prime position. They've got control of the river, and Fnatic have to face check in. This is not what you want to be doing. As a poke composition, you want to have control, and they want to come to you. This is not ideal for Fnatic, and Jactroll moving in to try and get vision on the enemy team. Bean going to be slowed down. Whoa! The damage out from Woolite on those autos. That was half of his health on an auto attack.
Bean has to heal up. He's going to get it from MAXI. But I mean, solo rocket is... Oh, he was dead!
Woolite is having the game of his tournament right here, absolutely annihilating Bean, and that's going to force everyone away from Fnatic. That should be Ocean Soul for the side of Misfits Premier. And after losing 2 games in a row to start this series off, Misfits are back in town.
They're back in town. They're finally here at the tournament. It feels like, oh no,
oh my lord.
Even the Nexus Tower Force.
Even the minions are winning.
Fnatic, they're crumbling right now in this game. Misfits, they are online. It took them 2 games to wake up. But right now, they are not giving Fnatic an inch of movement, a second to breathe even. They're pushing up in the mid lane. I don't really feel like Fnatic can even respond to this. It's going to be at the very least this mid lane tower going down. They could even push for more if they feel like.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm regretting putting on the jersey at this point, Jamada. Here we go, Rhuckz going in for a final engage to try and save this game. Does survive for a good amount of time here, but Woolite gets his first reset, and it looks for MAXI as well. He's still going strong, he's still untouched, and until he goes down, you have to favor Misfits. Jactroll trying to tank up on this front line. Is MAXI forced away once again? Does that flash away from Agresivoo on the front line? Another reset for Woolite as the autos come on through. Dajor goes down. Bean will follow shortly, and Woolite has his hour in the sun. He's had a rough series in that bottom lane, but here on the Jinx, he steps up when his team needs it the most, and a 10-0 domination the Misfits in game 4.
Shift up from Misfits Premier here. They've moved up in gears. They've picked up the pace. I don't think Fnatic even traded a single kill that game. Did they just end the game with no kills?
No, 0 kills.
0 kills. So,
Flat old goose egg.
yeah, it speaks to the nature of this game. Misfits, they found their stride right now. They've put Woolite on all of the agency. They're giving him the resources. And I mean, there's a reason why Woolite came into this game with 8 Aphelios performances, and there's a reason why they ended up in the position they were. It's because they played into him. It felt like the first 2 games, they weren't quite doing that. They were given being the freedom of that virus. They stripped it away now. Fnatic Rising, you know, it is 2-2, but it feels like it's their backs against the wall. It doesn't feel like it's Misfits with their backs against the wall. So they've got to find something.
Got to talk momentum, right?
Yeah.
Momentum is in favor of Fnatic Rising. We're going to jump into a break, and then we will go to the final game of this best of 5. We're going the distance. It's time for Silver Scrapes.
Scrapes, baby.
Champions!
Welcome back to our Berlin studio here for the Silver Scrapes coming. We will have a game 5 and it feels like slowly but surely Misfits got loaded into the game here.
I think everything's going according to plan,
It is.
right? Because Fnatic in the LEC playoffs,
Game 5, every single time to make it through. And also I said, my heart's prediction is 3-2 Fnatic Rising. So Misfits had to win 2 games.
I thought they said they were turning off the copium down there. Is that true?
That's because I used it all of the UCOM series. It's gone. It's all gone.
You have no allies here, but okay, talking about the game, yeah, we will see.
Man.
Misfits said it themselves, actually. This is fine. Everything is under control. But also talking about this game, mostly it feels like Fnatic tripped, honestly, and they didn't play towards the team strength and what they drafted.
Yes and no.
What do you
I feel like looking at the NLC, Fnatic Rising, being on Ezreal, Rhuckz on Leona, Pride, Gangplank, MAXI, Nidalee, and Dajor onto the Rise, is just perfection. I'm sorry, on the Twisted Fate. It's just perfection. Every single one of them is just a comfort pick, and I understand why the players would like to resort to something that feels like comfort for them. But taking the whole composition as one, it was a little bit weird, because it felt like every single lane was weak side. You wanted the Twisted Fate to play towards the side lane, but who do you play for? Gangplank is your weak side. Ezreal is your weak side, so your Leona can roam. So to me, it felt like they wanted to play for MAXI, but they fell across a big rock, which was Shlatan onto that Olaf, and they just could not go through.
Yeah, and I think as well, this composition is incredibly difficult to operate, right? Because you've got like the Ezreal and the Twisted Fate, you're kind of working off a narrow window that you can actually have like effect in team fights. You try to play through side lanes, maybe, but you still need like wiggle room to try and get some of these early turret plates, find these early skirmishes towards Rift Towers so you can start to take these towers, but we just never really got that opportunity. So I think even when we got towards a good spot for Fnatic Rising, this was going to be a composition that was really difficult for them to actually win team fights out on. It required a lot of coordination, and I think going back to comfort, yes, does say something, but honestly I'd prefer to see them just operate in towards the team fights that were winning them out game 1 and game 2.
Oof. Yeah, that one hurts.
That was Spain without the S right there. They kill you, they take the Rift Herald in front of your eyes, but I will 100% agree with Dagda. At the end of the day, we said yes, it all comes down to the team fights. And when Misfits for me have the Kennen, the Olaf, the Jinx, the Galio, the Wombo combo, the late game, the scaling, it is just so much easier, even if you're even in gold, to execute the fights around the dragons, in a bush, creating these flanks with the Kennen, to the point where I feel like Fnatic Rising just run out of options here, specifically because you have the Nidalee. If your Nidalee doesn't snowball ahead, this is not necessarily that useful later on. And I get it. I see what Fnatic Rising were trying to do here, right? Again, with the Twisted Fate, you have the gold card. You throw it on someone, then Ezreal has a bunch of poke, and the Nidalee spears will follow through, and then you have the Gangplank, someone dies. Yes, but Mrs. Samir do no longer have a very squishy composition. Galios, the Olafs, the Thresh to save the Jinx. It was just impossible.
And you'll notice a pretty consistent trend in these fights as well. Zero backline access. Like, I mean, unless you got the Twisted Fate Gangplank coordination going, Woolite's pretty much free to go as he pleases. Even got a Thresh hook to get out of that kind of pesky combo. So when this Jinx is able to consistently push in that bot lane against the Ezreal, take turret plates, there's the result. 20,000 damage for this Jinx.
I mean, when you look at the goal graph, actually, before minute 10, it looks like Fnatic could have done something. What happened?
I felt like there was a play specifically in the bot lane where Dajor TPs towards the Ezreal, they get onto Woolite, they take his cleanse, and then Misfits from here double TP onto that play. And the second Fnatic see the double TP, they pull out. They're like, peace, we're done. We took the double TP, our laners will have double TP, and we have a Twisted Fate. So in this 5-minute time frame, we can pull out so many. Oh, okay, observers, you're absolutely smurfing, because that's exactly the play I'm talking about. They take his cleanse, double TP comes in from Misfits. Fnatic is like, peace. They put down the Gangplank ultimate as well. They're out of that play. That was so well done. Now you have a 5-minute time frame where you can pull plays with your Twisted Fate, with your Gangplank ultimate, and try to win onto the side lanes, because that Kennen doesn't have to be, because the Galio cannot join the fight. And it just seemed so difficult, because to me that Nidalee, she just never snowballed to the point where she was dangerous enough. Dajor was jumping in on his own. It looked a little bit uncoordinated. I don't know what happened in these 5 minutes.
Feels like they played poorly around the Twisted Fate pick in one way, Dagda.
Yeah, I think part of it came back to the draft. I just don't feel like, I think Trouble hit on earlier, you have a window to kind of move, right? You don't want to play towards the Gangplank top side, he's weak side. You don't want to play towards the Ezreal bot side, he's got no damage. So even though you've got the Leona there, you just don't have the consistent damage to set up for that. And then you're trying to play off the Nidalee, but you're into Olaf Galio. That's not going to work out very well. So Honestly, I would have preferred to see something like a Tristana in this bottom lane, something that can actually be that aggressor, something that can set you up for success and you can look to play around. It just felt like you never really had that option with this draft.
I'm just wondering what happens next now, because it is game 5. As we said, we have a lot of inexperienced players here on the side of Fnatic Rising, a lot of experience on the side of Misfits, who now I feel like they have the momentum. Fnatic just drafted something, as you said, Georgia, who's supposed to be their comfort picks, their strong picks. What do you do now? What do we expect from this?
I think it's time to pull it out, guys. I think it's time for the Sylas to make the return. I think it's time for MAXI to facilitate for his mid laner this time, go into something maybe a little bit more tanky, like the Trundle, maybe the Viego, the Zinzao. I don't know, I heard Silver Scrapes, I got excited.
Yeah, I got excited.
But yeah, I feel like Dajor might be the key here, give him something that he can carry on and put your beans in his basket.
We'll see if he has the shoulders to carry on and give another final for Fnatic Rising, or we'll see who meets K-Corp in the finals right after the break for game 5. Turn up the Silver Scrapes.
Let's go.